Discourse 11. Beloved Minutemen of Saint Germain, in speaking of this, I voice to you the words which you have chosen to do me honor. You might not realize it, but I consider it an honor for mankind to have given me sufficient recognition, not having seen me, to declare themselves the Minutemen of Saint Germain. That which I shall say to you today, I want to so anchor within your mind, body, and feeling world that you will carry it always as a victory of my power within you. It has been said that a government is the activity of men's minds. I say to you that a government is the activity of men's feelings, for you can think many things with but little consequence, but in an instant feeling, it becomes an activity, vibratory action, and power that is limitless in its activity as its vibratory action goes forth. In your decrees and in sending them forth with the feeling and power that you do, are light rays going forth, which are the guns of light, if you chose to call them that. That becomes a permanently sustained activity for the blessing and benefit of mankind. Those who were in the recent world war understand more than the rest of the world can possibly comprehend what this statement means. For century upon century, mankind has tried to adjust the conditions of the outer world through armament. Of course, temporary results have been produced, one side of mankind considering they have won, but no one ever won anything in war. One side just holds out a little longer than another, but there is no change in conditions except temporary results. Because of the incoming golden age, and because I am the authority under the violet ray for the condition that must be brought about in the world, and having known this for several hundred years, I have sought the world over for people who would give response to me, that I might change the action for mankind and bring about an understanding as this chart indicates to you. The reason why mankind, and the only means by which mankind, can have a permanent action and sustained power, producing harmony, peace, perfection, and the limitless activity which life has always wanted to give mankind. It is not easy after centuries of confusion in the minds of mankind to suddenly clear it away and let the comprehension become active and clear of the simplicity with which life is always trying to act. But since it must be done, I have chosen the messenger to convey these my words and those of the others to mankind, and to also put them in print in a form that you may read, study, and comprehend. I say to you, gentlemen, if you will, in reading those books, call to your presence, acting through your higher mental body to give you comprehension and alertness in reading the great laws there. They sound quite simple, that is true, but they are majestic and all-powerful in their action. They are the solution of human problems and the only permanent one. If you will bear with me for a moment in acknowledging that having become an ascended being, wholly free from all human limitations, and looking over the vast population of the earth, I see there the confusion in the minds of man, and see how they are imposed upon by various destructive activities. Being wholly unaware of the conditions that are acting upon them, they unknowingly give way to them and respond to them, causing them to do things that limit, bind, and bring them into such distress as few have understood. You today in America, even with the conditions that exist here, have but little idea of the conditions that are in Europe and the viciousness that has turned Europe into the state that it is in today. It has tried for 18 years with a definite cunning that is unparalleled to get its same clutches upon America. Gentlemen, you do not realize what is there. I have been in Europe every day for months. I know the condition of the feelings there. I know the conditions of the treachery. I know the condition of the warlords that are being used wholly for destructive purposes, and it is only the fear of the people in Italy, in Russia, and in Germany that keeps them from rising and annihilating those dictators from the world. I would not be surprised to see it occur any time, because the light, the cosmic light taking its action in the world, is stirring within mankind their own mighty power of light, of comprehension, of fearlessness. Many, many men would rather lose their physical bodies than go on under the conditions that their own hearts tell them are coming about. In no place on the face of the earth is there within the feeling of mankind what is in America today. It always has been so, for that matter. When something threatens our country, even people who have disagreed and almost hated each other will rise as one in defense of our America, and you can depend on it. The decrees the I Am students are sending forth are the mightiest service that mankind has ever rendered, because they are acting directly upon the feeling world of mankind. When a group of people are sending out these decrees, you do not see the ultimate action of it, but we do. We know exactly where that energy goes and what it produces in the feeling world of mankind. Therefore, there is no power today in the present outer activity that it is as powerful as sending forth these decrees by the great body of students. 600,000 are now doing it in America to hold the balance until enough momentum can be gained. The light will control even discordant individuals through those decrees, so it will cause them to do the honorable, just, and right thing. This power needs to be directed into your government today to give protection to the people. There is such treachery going on through spies and intrigue that mankind must arise and by these decrees call forth the inner power of protection, because the power of the cosmic light and the power of the ascended masters and the cosmic beings must be released. If you do not quite understand this, please remember that they are real, and they are the only assistance to mankind today. Mankind is not strong enough, even with what assistance has been gained, to yet hold the balance for the protection of America. The ascended masters must have a certain amount of energy released from the human octave in order to allow us to give the protection and the assistance that is necessary. We must have some of your energy, and that is what is done in the putting forth of these mighty decrees. You are releasing the energy by which it gives us the authority and power to render this service to you, the earth, and to America. That is why, if I had not brought this forth, it would have been impossible to give this protection to America, and I am more and more convinced that we are going to succeed in the completeness of it. You might say to me, did you not know all that would be accomplished in the city of Washington since the messenger's arrival here? As I have said many times, gentlemen, could I depend upon the feeling of all the students to be held in a certain degree of harmony, I could tell you exactly what we could do. But you cannot do it. You cannot depend upon the human qualities and sustain an action, a sustained feeling. Could I do that, I could tell you exactly what would take place every week from now on to the end of the year, as definitely as mathematics. But since we cannot always depend upon the feeling of mankind, we must make allowances for certain things. We have been able to accomplish for the city of Washington more than I had expected by far, because I have been here in person in my tangible body several times in the past weeks in your city, and where I go in the tangible body, I release certain powers into the human octave that make it possible for accomplishment, otherwise impossible. Therefore, as you are coming to feel more and more my reality, it gives me greater and greater power and authority to act for you and for your government. My activity throughout more than 400 years has been to try to bring divine order and adjustment in the governmental activities of the world. In Europe, I failed utterly because I could not find sufficient response from mankind. Therefore, gentlemen, in the response that is given today, I do appreciate very greatly the formation of the Minutemen of America, for you, as masculine individuals, represent under the cosmic law a certain positive force. While there are many in the feminine form that represent quite as strong a positive force, yet the law is, just a little while yet, accepting the masculine power as a positive force, which, under the great law, is soon coming to a conclusion. Therefore, I am sure many of you feel that, in the power of the decrees issued by the Minutemen, you are releasing a certain positive force that is tremendously powerful in all that is to be done. Therefore, remember that in your Minutemen meetings, and I am sure before 6 months are past, you will have great groups of Minutemen rendering this service, aside from what is done otherwise. Remember your privilege in service in this capacity to put forth these mighty decrees. Gentlemen, I am going to make a suggestion. Call directly for the project of the light rays by the Ascended Masters and the cosmic beings into your government to produce divine order and divine justice and to bring about the permanent remedy for conditions. It is quite imperative at this time. Call for these light rays to go into every business activity and compel divine justice to be given all. Many individuals respond to destructive forces without knowing it, and some respond because they want to. That is neither here nor there. But to call forth the power of light to govern the feeling world of mankind will bring divine order and divine justice into the government, which is all that will be and is required. You cannot take destructive intent or force out of an individual's intellect if there be an intent, if there be a desire in the feeling to commit wrong. It will act unless something stops it. But the intellect can desire without the feeling responding to it. Then it is only a temporary thing. In the conditions that are to be adjusted today, a great part of their activity is yet in the intellect. It is not yet entered deep into the feeling. That is the thing which gives us great encouragement. That is why these decrees will prevent the intellectual desire from entering into the feeling world, which makes it a positive force in action. Therefore, through these ascended master decrees, everyone can annul a great many of the conditions which have an appearance, because their activity as yet is only in the intellect. That is why we expect to accomplish so much in the next few months. The more we can remove from the invisible that which influences mankind through destructive activities, of course, the more quickly will humanity respond. Why do you suppose I had scarcely any response in Europe in 400 years? Because the atmosphere is saturated by such destructive forces that mankind could not be at rest, at ease long enough to allow the powers to get through. And you will remember, in those days, we could not intrude upon the free will of the individual. Neither do we today, except where there are viciously destructive forces. The great cosmic law has said that no longer may the free will of those individuals act. That would be the one hope today of the remedying of conditions. Therefore, destructive individuals can be stopped. That is what has occurred in many instances, and why these activities can be removed from the earth. That is the activity of the great cosmic law, not the cosmic law the outer scientists explain to you, but the cosmic law that is projected from the central governing power of this system of planets, which the messengers express to you as the great central sun. That is the cosmic light projected by those great beings who are the authority for this system of planets. That is why it becomes all powerfully active to produce results, and why you will see more and more of it as you see this great impulse go forth. In your assistance to America, remember, you stand as one in authority for all mankind in your call to the mighty I Am presence, the presence of light, to project its mighty light rays into any condition, whether it be individual, city, state, or government to produce its perfection and hold its dominion there. As you call forth the cosmic light rays, either from the royal Teton, from the retreat in Arabia, from the cosmic beings, the ascended masters, or the I Am students, to project their mighty light rays into the activities of your government, it is all a substance of light that no human quality can change. The light simply goes into action. Now suppose you are causing to be placed or focused one of those light rays upon an office in your government. That light would remain in action there until the service for which you had called it was accomplished. Try to feel this, because it is an almighty action. You might think, as a humble individual, how could I have the authority? Well, you have the authority of life, which is beating your heart. Your physical position has nothing to do with it. If you have the desire to call for the loyalty and protection for America, you have all the authority of life to act within your heart, which gives you the authority to make the call to the presence of life, the mighty I Am presence, to all the powers of light, and the authority to project its light rays into a given objective and hold them there until the power of light dissolves all else and replaces it by perfection, divine order, and divine justice. That is the authority that every human being has, and there is no authority outside of it. There is no authority that can say you shall not call for a certain activity for the protection of yourself and America. In all that you require, you must call forth invincible protection for yourself, because when you turn to the powers of light and call them into action, you become a power before all invisible forces, most of which you know nothing about at all, but we do. We know what is playing upon you, and we make every effort to convey to you that which you are bound to meet, and which has been acting upon you wholly unknown in the feeling. Look at this good messenger before you. For 30 years, the black magician frustrated his every attempt at success, his every plan that would have otherwise worked out. Then came the time where the law of his life permitted me to step in and give the assistance and set him free. Gentlemen, I stand ready to render the same service to every student in America today. Of course, I love these messengers. They were once my own children, and I have never forgotten it. But that is beside the point. The power of light must take its dominion now or never on earth. That is the position mankind stands in today. But I declare it shall not fail. And from the response that is building from the people of America, I am convinced more each day that it shall not fail. Therefore, give me your response. All you can. I cannot say to mankind, come here. This is the condition. If you do not wish to respond to it, then you must take the consequences. That is not my position. It is mankind who need their freedom. I stand ready to offer it and to sustain it. And I have proven to the world in lifting the messengers to their present position that I have the authority and power to do it when sufficient obedience is given. There is no one who wants to see the truth that can deny that. Therefore, I say to you, every student in America, I can do the same for you if you will give the same obedience in your application as they have given. Because remember, your application is the imperative thing for your freedom and for the freedom of America. The application of these great laws. They are mighty, gentlemen. When you are issuing a decree, do you feel the infinite power of it? Momentarily, sometimes you do. But once you begin to feel the infinite power of your mighty decrees sent forth in the name of the I Am, there will not be one single thing that you cannot achieve on the spot. That is why I say to you, there is nothing so important, so vital among mankind today as the issuing of the I am decrees for the advancement, the expansion of your own light, the protection of yourself, your families, and America. All is the one mighty energy acting according to your direction and qualification. In rendering this service today, the opportunity has never been so great before mankind. Try to feel this in all your decrees. Every one of you send forth for yourselves individually or for America or for whatever is required. Remember that it is the infinite power of light calling to itself when you voice anything for a constructive purpose. It is the voice of the light calling back to itself from the human individualization for its perfection and its victory. Therefore, it is the authority. People have not felt this, but feel that your call is the authority of life calling back to itself to pour forth its mighty energy to give you its protection and its blessing. Feel that in all your requirements individually, in your country, in your government, and all that concerns it, and in your industries, the great power of light is answering your calls. You, of course, know without my saying it, that in your world of industry today, the most diabolical attempt is being made to shut off the food supply of mankind and through fear, compel people into certain obedience that gives certain powers authority over them. You must decree that this shall not be. Call the infinite powers of light to give their infinite protection so that no individuals come into a position of authority, of temporary control over you that would produce such a result. I do not hesitate to tell you that it is being attempted every day. And the unfortunate thing is that so many innocent individuals are caught in this frightful thing. For instance, take one illustration, the condition of the milk industry and its investigating going on today. Underlying that is the most tragic, vicious attempt to shut off and come into control of the food activity, to get its heel upon the neck of mankind. But I declare it shall not be. With your decrees going forth, giving the element required from the human octave, then we shall use every power at our command to prevent such a thing taking place in America. Gentlemen, I have not stopped in more than 2 years, not for one moment, in watching, guarding, projecting the mighty light rays into conditions to prevent the disaster. As the messengers have told you 18 months ago, the most vicious war ever known would have begun in your America but for this work. Therefore, it is worth your entire devotion and every moment you have to give forth silently as you move about the call to the presence of life to render this service to yourself, to mankind, and America. Therefore, I want you to feel the importance of the position you hold today in your understanding and ability to call forth these decrees. America needs you as never in her experience. In the time of Washington and Lafayette, it was country against country. Today, it is light against darkness of hundreds of thousands of centuries of accumulation. That is the difference in the position of Washington and those patriots who won the victory through physical and also divine forces. As the goddess of liberty watched over America then, so does she still watch. But today, with the attention of her more than 600,000 people upon her, that gives her authority, which never occurred in the time of Washington, for he was the only one opposite of myself who knew what she was attempting to give America and its protection. Therefore, remember that in all things which are brought to your attention, think, if for no other reason, to pour forth your love to France for being the means by which the symbol of the Goddess of Liberty stands in New York Harbor today. Beloved ones, the evidence has been constantly brought before all mankind, but few have understood. Now today, when all is being made clear, plain, and so many are comprehending, then are you in the position to render a service by the projection of light rays 10,000 times more powerful than all your armaments combined. For that produces but temporary results, while the light rays produce eternally sustained results. In all your activity in calling forth the powers of your presence, whatever is accomplished through that is a permanently sustained activity and never has to be undone. Notice the difference. Therefore, I say to you, utilize this opportunity, gentlemen. Remember, I am real. Remember, within me rests the freedom of America. With your response, I assure you it shall not fail. But if mankind should turn aside and refuse to give assistance, then all would be lost for America, her people, and the earth. Then devastation would spread over the entire earth with a speed you could not conceive of today as you are sitting in the comfort of this room. You do not realize how the forces of light, the walls of light, hold back destructive forces until they can be governed. I want you to feel the joy of this service and don't allow any uncertainty to register within your feeling. Your calls and the ever-increasing numbers of people who are coming into this understanding will supply all that is required for the victory of this light. Live in that. Accept no other appearance. When any other appearance to the contrary comes to your attention, annihilate it by the power of the light rays and say to it, you have no power. Oh, any condition that has an appearance in America, which is less than the perfection you require in America, you must say to that appearance in the authority and power of your presence, you have no power. Then call the powers of the mighty I am to annihilate, dissolve, and consume the seeming effects that are there, cause, effect, record, and memory. Then you will have removed the cause. The effect is very little if the cause is removed. Now, think, when we are rendering the service to you, to mankind today, which we are, in seizing and binding these black magicians who have been the instigators of all the destruction on the earth for centuries and centuries, then we too are rendering our part of the service in a way you could not possibly understand. There are no words to explain it, but simply to call your attention to it so that you may realize we love you enough and we love the light enough to want its dominion upon the earth, so that the earth does not fail in that which is the demand of the cosmic light now to come up to its vibratory action, to expand more light and enter into its dominion with the rest of the planets. It is not a matter of individuals, but a matter of the demand of the cosmic light in which individuals will find response. Therefore, I say to you, you have infinite assistance, you have infinite power, and you have friends, all powerful, that are ready to hold your hand and carry you forward to the victory of the light. May you all feel that. May you be sustained by it, and may you enter into the full joy of your service, which it is your privilege to render, knowing that your service to America and its protection, and your service to the government and to industry will compel your own freedom to come about in a perfectly natural way. I thank you, gentlemen, and may the powers of light that beat your heart allow us to amplify and expand that and give you the assistance at all times, individually or otherwise, that gives you your happiness, your limitless supply, and your freedom and victory of life. I thank you.